welcome to Great Place to Work for All 2024 Summit, a platform that discusses the importance of nurturing talent, investing in technology, and fostering trust. The 3 T's that can truly transform India's organizational structure.
We're very, very happy to share with you that we've launched something called the National Trust Index. Now, what is National Trust Index? We just went about asking people who are employees from companies who are not Great Place to Work certified to rank their employee experience, right? And what you would see is that currently our National Trust Index, which is the employee sentiments, if you want to put it very simply, stands at 45. And what is our threshold to be GPTW certified? 70, right? So if you compare, the very fact that you're Great Place to Work certified really, really sets you apart from the rest of the country. So can we have a huge round of applause? Absolutely brilliantly well done on being Great Place to Work certified.
So what does India need to do to be able to rapidly accelerate the pace of its growth is very critical. And to accelerate the pace of its growth is, to my mind, a lot of reforms have been carried by the central government, but a lot of states now need to become the drivers of growth. The western part of India and the southern part of India have grown. It's important that the eastern part of India, particularly Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Bihar, UP, I've seen a huge transformation in recent times taking place in terms of infrastructure. But these states are critical to grow because they are the most populous states of India. And if these states grow, they are the mineral-rich states of India. India will be able to accelerate the pace of its growth. Secondly, I've been a long-term believer that India has largely grown on the back of services. India needs to fire on all cylinders. It needs to grow on manufacturing, which will provide large jobs. It needs to grow on agriculture productivity, needs to be enhanced, and it also needs to urbanize in a very sustainable manner. And that's important because every minute India is going to see 30 Indians move, every minute 30 Indians move from rural areas to urban areas. In the next 5 decades, we'll have 500 million Indians moving to urban areas, as many of you see in Mumbai. And that means that we must do sustainable urbanization. We must create planned sustainable urbanization. And urbanization is the key to growth. India is one country which has a very high number of people dependent on agriculture, which must move to manufacturing and urbanization, and that's critical. And the third key factor, to my mind, is that if you need to grow on a sustained basis for 3 decades or more, then we need a huge focus on improving our learning outcomes, our health outcomes, our nutritional standards, which to my mind is very, very important.
What we talk about DEI today, diversity, equity, inclusion, it's something that has always been at MasterCard. Since the time I've been at MasterCard, I've never seen any difference in terms of women leaders. And for us, diversity has not been about gender. I know in many parts of the world, it's always been about gender diversity. For us, it's actually not been gender diversity only, right? It's color, gender, it's difference of opinion, it's what backgrounds you have. So you will see that in a lot of our engineering functions, the kind of people that we hire are not engineers by training, right? We have people with philosophy backgrounds, psychology backgrounds, working in our user experience department, in our product department. So for us, diversity is way beyond gender. And that was something that was there much, much earlier than the term DEI came into being, which I think is a more recent 5 or 6 year old term. So for us, that is kind of embedded in our DNA.
When you're building a great place, we firmly believe that it has to be a great place for everyone, okay? Irrespective if there is a minuscule percentage of population which can be a minority, which can be just out of 30,000 people, it can be just 4 or 5 or 10 people that come from a particular minority. So when you build a great place, it has to go to the right end level. It has to be a great place for everyone, irrespective of the demographics.
I was born when I was 7 months old. The doctor said the child might not survive. I was a very animal child. I survived. And I underwent 4 major surgeries. I was rejected by 30 educational institutes. The 31st school was kind enough to accept me and give me my rightful place. And then I was met with isolation and desperation because nobody wanted to be my friend. Then my friend became depression. I was depressed. I couldn't find anything. But as I was growing up, I found an enabler. There was no Facebook that time. There was no LinkedIn. There was no Instagram or Snapchat. But I found Orkut. I found my own little tribe where I found colleagues who shared a similar mentality and they believed that people with disabilities also have a rightful place in the world and they bring their own value to the table. After that, the same story in college. When I was going in college, they told my mother, he has cerebral palsy. What makes you think he can do an MBA? I said, okay, I'll have to prove you wrong. I just did not top my university, but I topped the university across the country with a 9.5 CGPA. After college, people said, we will not give you a job because you cannot walk and your degree is in marketing. I said, so what? Everything can be done through the help of computers. They said, no, it can't be done. Then after the 6th MNC, which rejected me, I said, you can keep your jobs. I don't want to be a job taker from the country. I want to become a job giver to the great country of Bharat.
The summit also outlines essential future skills to navigate in a hybrid workplace.
The talent that you require as human resource, why for HR specifically, is not looking to get somebody on who works for 6 months, completes the project, and is there as a huge impediment to you for the next 10, 15 years. You want somebody fresh because you've got to keep the return on investment and the sustainability of companies at the heart of your requirements.
Today, people come with caliber, people come with potential. That's where they are in front of you. The CVs get, shortlisted by that. But one thing today's day you need to check is your emotional intelligence and agility.
Vishal Gondal and Dr. Marcus Rani dwelled upon the importance of workplace wellness initiatives and its effectiveness.
Are you upgrading your employees or are you upgrading yourself? And people don't understand that concept. And I say just the way you upgrade your hardware, your software, and your operating system. Similarly, every person, every employee, and every person themselves can upgrade.
Whilst we celebrate the populace of being the world's largest country, about having its youngest workforce, we are also as diabetic capital, the hypertensive capital, the cancer capital, and that list goes on and on. So if you take the average Indian who's in the workforce today, who's about 24, 25, 26, and you map that to the trajectory of where we want to be as a country in 2040 and 2050, what is the onset of that chronic disease? How many years are we suffering? What's the impact of morbidity? And suddenly we realize that we cannot economically sustain that at all. The US numbers which came out last week show that they're spending, in 2022, the US spent $4.5 trillion on health. So for us to be that global superpower that we want to be, we have this decade and this decade alone to fix that. Otherwise, we've lost the opportunity.
The next panel discussion puts the spotlight on powering the future through big tech and human intelligence.
It's about creating technology that can allow people and their organizations to achieve more than they ever imagined. And I feel AI is that technology that's going to allow people to unlock massive amounts of potential, right? Things that you never could imagine you'd do as an organization or you could do as people, you're going to be able to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's what keeps us up at night saying, can we get there fast?
So it's about, about making machines very human, right? That's what AI is all about. How more human can they be, right? With processing power that we humans don't have. But I think we need to pause and think about what it's doing to us as humans, right? So, yes, we have a technology in our hand that's super powerful, but it's also about making humans more human. And if we reflect on that or inflect on that, I think that's the excitement.
Anup Rao, MD and CEO Future Generali India Insurance Company, stresses on managing multi-generation and new age talent.
There's nothing we have done to hire more millennials or hire more boomers or hire more Gen Zs or Gen Xs. I think as long as we create an environment where everyone can do their best every single day, irrespective of whether you're 20 or 60, I think people will come in and contribute. I think some of that willful blindness is important. And I do believe that sometimes when we talk more about these things, are you actually accentuating a non-issue in some sense, is my concern.
Keshav Suri and Pavitra Vyas talk about making meaningful progress in DEIB.
So we have a policy which says ask and not assume. A clear policy across all. Anybody, women, people with disabilities, whoever it is. For example, we had 2 women who were hearing impaired who walked into my office and they had a beautiful resume which had 9 years of experience. I hardly have 9 days or 90 days of experience in Vindhya. And I said, I cannot get a better person because you are knowing this and you can teach me a lot of things. Then I don't know how to speak. We were writing on a piece of paper. I said, this cannot happen forever, right? Then they said, ma'am, you teach me your job, I'll teach you my language. Simple. That's it. And at all our operational floors, today, no sign language. It need not be a certified sign language, but we communicate. There is conversations happening.
Now our vision is very clear. Equity has to be a big part of DEI, meaning that I need people from the communities and the various communities that we work with, because we also work with the neurodivergent community. We also work with acid attack warriors in a very big way. And we're not shy of putting our team up in the front. We want our guests to see that. We want our internal team to see that, because we want, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not, you have to talk about it, because that's the company we belong to. Having tough conversations is something that we put as a priority.
The next panel discussion focuses on building and sustaining a high trust and high performance culture.
There's a huge focus on building capability and building skills of the future. The opportunities are humongous in terms of doing global roles from India. And like I think Arun was mentioning this morning over breakfast, there's nothing like called on-site any longer. On-site is India, really. There are no boundaries. There are no geographical distances, right? So over the last couple of years, we've been very intentional in terms of our capability strategy. We've built partnerships with several academia. I would say ISC, UPS, IIT Mumbai, ISB, to build on capability.
Thing is now that empathy and empowerment also. We give empowerment as well. So we tell the employees, what do you want? So when they understand, I think Gen Zs are the best people to come up with a fantastic idea. So I think they come with fabulous ideas, how they want to run it. And we just support them.
The upcoming panel discussion focuses on why sustainability is a business imperative.
Every organization is there to solve a problem. Say, whether it's a non-profit organization working for a cause or a corporate creating a product or providing a service. But during those activities, while we conduct our activities, there is a positive or a negative impact on other areas such as social or environment. How we do that is governance, basically.
The city of Mumbai, where we have distribution of electricity license, is getting 35% of its electricity from renewable sources. So it's one of the highest in the country as of now, and one of the highest in the world if you leave the Latin American capitals, which are predominantly on hydropower. Adani Green Energy and Adani Energy Solutions Limited, both these companies are water positive. So you don't see energy companies working so much on water, but these companies are water positive. And in Adani Green, all the sites having more than 200 megawatt and above are individual site-wise water positive. Then all these three companies are single-use plastic free. And we did this before the regulation came into effect.
If we don't include the climate change related risks, the policies we sell abroad, there is a carbon taxation which is going to come up. The consumers are changing. They have a preference for low carbon products. So if those thoughts, if you are only worried about tomorrow's profit creation, you cannot work on value creation on medium and long term.
The final session discusses enhancing employee value proposition through Great Place to Work India assessment. Welcome back to Great Place to Work for All Summit 2024. World champion Indian badminton player PV Sindhu shares anecdotes from her career and lessons she learned on the playing field and a lot more.
You are the face and voice of crores of Indians and lot of dreams and aspirations. You know, if Sindhu can achieve, we can also. So, what will be your message to the community, in general, and how can they support women leaders to come up and really be there for the society, to serve the society?
I think it's very important that you need to come forward and speak about it. At the same time, I think now women are doing really well. Initially, it was more of, men coming forward and then women actually not much. But now, if you see, the percentage has actually come up. And it is really great to see not only sports personalities, but also in the different, I think, in corporate or whatever it is, there have been a lot of women coming forward and taking the lead and doing amazing. So I think we are not less in anything. I think especially being an Indian in this country, I think we have all the support. It's just the matter of we coming forward and just stand up and think for ourselves that yes, we can achieve what we want to achieve. My parents always told me that you need to also understand how it feels when you lose, because it's not that always you win. There are days, where you be your 100%. There are days where you can't give your best and it nothing works out. So you have to also be ready to face the failure. And that's when you learn and bounce back stronger.
So, how do you maintain composure on the field?
Yeah, as you mentioned, yes, it is the fastest sport. Badminton is the fastest sport. It's very important to stay very focused. And at the same time, you also have to have a strategy. And you should also know that if plan A doesn't work, you need to be prepared for plan B, because you have to just change just in a second, because you don't have much time to think at that point of time. Even though your coach tells you from behind, it's very important that you are playing on court and you know what's going on. How much ever people see and say, I think at the end of the day, you are the one who is doing it, and you can change or not. That's up to you.
So Atul, I would love to start with you. Of course, gone through that report that you've written as part of Deloitte's commitment to support the next generation of corporate governance.
One is we found that not the pandemic itself, but the pandemic as a point in time, as an event, changed how companies were going to get managed. You're now in a state of perpetual crisis. Some crisis or the others always hitting you, and the frequency is increased in recent times. We think it'll keep increasing, the pace of change will keep increasing, so the role of the boards will change, and hence the report title, Chair of the Future.
In a period of crisis, you could be strategic as a board and you could be supportive as a board. In periods of good growth, you could be very focused on performance metrics and making sure that the board, the management is executing and delivering to those performance metrics. So the role of the board and management is actually always kind of changing to some extent, depending on the nature of the business, depending on the environment.
Will boards become younger? I think a simple answer would be yes, simply because if you look at an average age of a startup entrepreneur, or if you look at an average age of CEOs, they're reducing. And I think currently the data suggests that an average age of a startup CEO is about 32. One. Two, if you look at the solutions that businesses are coming up with, India is a young country. 70% of our workforce are millennials. And if you add Gen Z to it, it becomes 90%. So if you're catering to an audience of stakeholders that you should be related to, and you have to be relatable, I think that's the word I was looking for. I think new age business models, the stakeholders, the type of customers that you're dealing with, I think the board will be reflective of that.
So one of the great things the government has done in the new budget is to put out 1 lakh crore for research and development, and it's meant to be used by the private sector. So the private sector must really formulate schemes. They must really drive research and development. That's the way for innovation.
We've had an amazing partnership with Great Place to Work. We've been working with Great Place to Work for over 6 years now. The insights, the guidance, the partnership, coming and coaching us, our managers. I think it has helped us not only build an amazing culture, but also sustain.
I think everybody says this is India century. If it is really India century, then we have to be more inclusive and making sure that all people from all walks of life in India are having an impact, and we are having an impact on their lives.
Making India a great place to work is, I think, a lot of hard work, because we have to get a couple of infrastructures ready. And in my view, India needs 3 infrastructures. One is the physical infrastructure. The second type of infrastructure we should invest in is the human infrastructure. And that means really rejigging the whole education system. And the third is the technology or the digital infrastructure, because connectivity will come only with technology.
I think trust comes from authenticity, right? And if you look at trust, it's a factor of camaraderie plus pride, where you find that any kind of strategy will not work. It has to come from within, and it has to, be a part of the internal structure. Ultimately, it becomes a part of the culture, right? And that's what drives any successful organization and binds them together.
So as a country, we are at a very different kind of crossroad, where we have very different and unique challenges. Like environmental degradation has happened pretty faster than the development has taken place. So on environmental degradation, once we have focus on sustainability, that's one aspect that we can definitely address, mainly addressing not only the climate change part, but also on waste management, also on other aspects of environment like biodiversity. Rapid urbanization is one challenge which can be addressed a lot through technology.
Probably as organization, I can talk about Amara Raja, we are looking at creating the right skills, because the country is going through a transition. I would rather not call it a transition, it's a revolution. Whether it's an energy revolution, the expectations of the new generation are different. So as organizations, there is a lot we can do. We can upskill our people. There would be green jobs. So how the organizations are bracing up for those challenges?
We at the Lalit take DEI, which is a hot topic right now, and make it as a part of our DNA. For us, it is very important to have a diverse workforce, an inclusive workforce, and most importantly, an equitable workforce. And this goes to all the marginalized communities that we work with.
I think trust is something where it is very important. Believing in yourself, trusting yourself to achieve greater heights. At the same time, having trust in you, let's say as parents, as coaches, I think having that trust on you that you can do much better and you can push to your limits. I think that is where trust is very important.
I think it's very critical for every employee to feel as a strong part of the organization. Clearly, the thing about providing value in the work that you do and providing value for they imbibe from the work they do, those are all given. But the strong parts that we've seen is, one is, you've got to be a purpose-driven organization. Especially the younger generation today expects you to be a purpose-driven organization. And your results, success, profits, all must come through purpose. So that is one very big change we are seeing with the younger generation. And
companies must adopt to that.
That's a wrap on Great Place to Work for All Summit 2024. Check greatplacetowork.in website for more such enriching sessions. See you next year.